first part of this tutorial, I've already done a tutorial on how to make the basic shape in a separate video, so if you want to see that, I'll have the link to that in the description box. But as usual, I'm going to be starting off with a glue gun, and this is the hot setting for the glue gun. We need this to melt very quickly so that it drips all over the place, and it's going to help create that molten lava effect. If you've got it on a low setting, you can still do it, but it's a lot easier if it's on a higher setting. So I'm going to start off at the top of the horn and then just do these little wiggles down, and you're just going to create random patterns. There's nothing more difficult to this. You just want to wiggle that down, and then next one I'm going to be using is a heat proof mat, and I'm going to be putting this underneath a headband, and that's the point where I'm just going to start really putting as much hot glue onto this as possible. And you want to do this in layers, so really squeeze out a whole load of glue gun, let it just melt and fall where it does, and let it fall naturally. And then once that's dried, you're going to do that again. Now, because it's on a hot setting, it is going to take a little longer to dry than it normally would if it was on a lower setting, but it really helps getting that melted effect, so it's a lot easier and it's worth taking the time to wait. I'm going to be doing 2 or 3 layers of this, and if you want to get the hot glue to spread out in different ways while it's still hot, blow really hard on it, and you can kind of push it in different directions and get some really interesting wavy patterns in the hot glue while it's still hot enough to move around. It's very important not to let the hot glue flatten out too much, which is why it's very important to do this in layers. If you try and do this all in one go, because the first layer isn't going to have dried, it's all going to squish out into one layer. So let one layer dry and then do the second. If you don't do this, it's going to not look as impressive later on when you paint it. So let it have those different levels and wait for it to dry before you do the next one. Once everything's dried and you're sure you've got the patterns you want, you just want to wait for it to be completely dried on the bottom, and be careful because sometimes the glue right in the middle can take a little longer to dry. So before you peel everything off, make sure that it's dry and then peel away the mat. And now's the part where we're going to be painting it. I'm going to be using yellow, orange, red, and then a little bit of a matte overcoat, which should just take away the shine of this a little bit. I'm going to start off with the yellow, and I'm just going to spray paint the whole thing a bright yellow. Now, if you don't have yellow, and let's say maybe you can only afford to get 2 colours, then just go ahead and get an orange and a black. You can still get a pretty effective lava look if you just have 2 spray paints. But if you can afford to get a little bit more, then use firstly a base of yellow, and then you're going to point from above and you're going to spray in orange. And what this is going to do is it's going to mean that that yellow is still going to stick out in certain areas, but that orange is only going to catch it from above, so you're going to get this beautiful layered effect, the same as you would with lava or molten lava. And then over that I'm going to be putting a little bit of red, and you can see how the paint has started to settle in certain areas. Now for the last one I'm going to be using the black. Now, obviously make sure wherever you're spraying this that it's somewhere safe. I'm putting an old spare piece of carpet to protect the floor. Don't worry, it's not my real carpet, and I'm just going to spray paint that from above. And that way it's just going to catch the points which are in the direction of the spray paint, but it's going to leave free all those little areas on the edges and give it that beautiful molten lava effect. I'm going to finish off with a clear matte spray, and that's it. You're done.
It's about time, it's about cold.